hello everybody. It's me, Chris Smith. I'm still playing with that button that has that recorded on it that I got from A Beautiful Noise, the Neil Diamond musical, now on Broadway. I don't own stock in the show, but I do like to promote me some Neil Diamond because I just love his music, don't you? Don't you, Blackie? Today on It's Christmas Time, we're doing a fun little reveal. This is sort of like opening Al Capone's vault because my friend Gussy Gussin, who you all know, Deborah Gussin, who is a songwriter, and she's been in many reviews with me over the years. We haven't done any in a while because we haven't been to shows together since the pandemic because Gussy started switching to a weeknight schedule, I think, when she would go to shows, and I'm mostly on the weekends because of work and all that. So we're like two ships passing in the night, but we still talk. And Gussy gave me a bunch of her Broadway and theater coffee mugs, and I haven't looked through them yet, but I'm going to put them on display, and I thought it would be fun to do one of those things, sort of like they do those influencers when they get a package of something and they open it live on Instagram or TikTok or whatever. So I thought we would just do like an Al Capone's vault type thing and just open these and see what's in there. Okay, here's one, the Will Rogers Follies. You know, the Will Rogers Follies, I love this mug. I'm delighted. On the back it has the little logo. This was in the early 90s on Broadway, and it had Keith Carradine in it. Was it Keith? Yes, Keith Carradine. And it had such hit songs as Willamania, Poop Thought But Crutcha But Jot, Willamania, and Give a Man Enough Rope, Give a Man Enough Rope. And remember that song on the Tonys where they were all kicking their legs, all the girls, and Will Rogers was in the middle, and they were like, hooray for our favorite, hooray for our favorite, hooray for our favorite son, hooray. That was a show that I was obsessed with. Oh, now this one's fun. Here's Grease. This is, I don't know when Gussy got it. Did she get it during the Broadway run when Rosie O'Donnell was on it? It seems to be that logo. You know, I've seen Rosie several times on Broadway. I saw her in Fiddler on the Roof. I saw her at Taboo because she was the producer. And what else did I see her in? I didn't see her in Seussical. Well, the mind is drawing a blank. But I've seen Rosie a few times at things, and I think she's a delight. I listen to her podcast, Onward, and Grease is one of my favorite shows. And Barry and Fran, what's their last name? The producers on Broadway, they had the ingenious Wisner, thank you. They had the ingenious idea to put in like stunt casting for their Rizzos and their Teen Angels, and I just thought it was so clever. Sometimes that can keep a show running, like they do with Chicago on Broadway. Here's one, the Full Monty. Now, I've told you this story before, and Patrick Wilson was at work recently, and I wanted to tell him this story, but I didn't want to scare him because if you say, I saw you in the Full Monty on Broadway, you don't want them thinking, oh, they saw me in the Full Monty. But he was very good in the show. And one of my favorite stories ever is when I went to buy a ticket on Broadway at the theater. And I didn't go to TKTS. I went to the actual theater. And I got my ticket, and then this woman came in, and she seemed very rich to me. I think she had on like a fancy, I don't know if it was a fur coat, because in those days we really didn't wear fur anymore, but maybe it was faux fur. But she was a sophisticated lady and not a hooker. And she was saying, oh, and look on the back, it says, drop everything. And they do. Um, she said, my husband's very depressed. He had to lay off everyone in his office. I'm trying to cheer him up. Is this a funny show? And they said, yes, it's very funny. And so she was like, I'll take 2 tickets. Now, I don't know what night they were going, if they were going that night, if they were there at the night that I went to see the show. But what was hilarious, I was like, oh, it's about people being laid off from the steel mill. He is not going to be cheered up necessarily, though it's a very good show. So maybe he didn't divorce her. Oh, this one's broken. I think it got broken. Don't worry, I can glue it. Don't worry, Gussy, if you're watching this episode, I can glue it. It's just a clean break with the handle. But it's thoroughly modern Millie. Isn't that a cute cup? Oh, I'm just devastated. Just devastated, and I was very careful with these bags. Well, anyway, thoroughly modern Millie, soon to be super glued. You'll never know that it was ever broken. And they're going to go on display on a shelf anyway, so don't worry about it. Speaking of Chicago and the Weislers, here's Chicago. My sister and I, Jeanette, and I saw the original Chicago. The original revival of Chicago, which is the concert version. And we saw Baby Newworth and Anne Reinking. So that was very exciting. I must say, speaking of Chicago, I had told this joke that I put in my stand-up routine. It aired in one of my earlier You're Not Taping Again, Are You episodes. If you scroll back to the very beginning, or go to my my playlist, then all the videos, there's the different little playlists, and there's one with the original You're Not Taping Again, Are You episodes. And there was one where I actually do my stand-up comedy routine. And I'd told this joke for years to family that my brother Tim came to visit me and said we were going to see Chicago, and I got all excited. And when we got to the Greek theater, it was that group that sings Saturday in the Park. I think it was the 4th of July. And I was like, what? This isn't Chicago. Where's Velma? And and my sister thought that I was really telling the truth about that story and not that it was a joke. I was like, of course, I would know when Chicago, the musical, is in town. And I certainly would know it wouldn't be playing at the Greek Theater. I mean, I guess you could do a production at the Greek. This is a Forum Broadway mug. Now, I'm assuming if anything happens on the way to the Forum. Now, this is probably like a concert thing, because it's not like the logo that had Nathan Lane for the revival, and Whoopi Goldberg and David Alan Grier later did the show. But that's a nice mug. It is. Here's Judith Ivey in Voices in the Dark. Now, I'm not familiar with this, but I love this thin cup. Sort of a sophisticated kind of cup. You're like, Voices in the Dark. Here's to Judith Ivey. What else is in here, Gussy? Cabaret at the Castle. Was Gussy telling me that this was the Magic Castle? Because she wasn't quite sure. It's certainly not the Alan Cumming one, because he wasn't in a castle. So terrified of finding another broken one. Oh, here's Victor Victoria. Oh, and I'm told that if you put hot hot liquid in here that the lips turn red. Hold on, let's try it. Okay, look everybody, it actually did. I put hot water in it. I'm sure with hotter things it gets even brighter. But the lips did appear. Isn't that beautiful? Victor Victoria. I saw the movie when I was a little child, and I loved it. Won't you play me the jazz hot baby? I didn't get to see the musical, and I was very foolish because I was at the theater and I was like, do I get tickets? And it seemed like there was a ticket available. Well, there were several, but it was like obstructed view, slightly obstructed view, and I was like, I won't see it. And it had Julie Andrews in it. And then, of course, shortly after that, Julie Andrews had that throat thing and wasn't able to sing anymore. And I'm like, oh man, I really should have seen Miss Julie Andrews in Victor Victoria. Remember when she was the only one who got the Tony nomination from Victor Victoria? Not even the show, not anything. No other actress, just Julie Andrews. It was sort of like poor Rob McClure in Mrs. Doubtfire. He was the only nomination. And she turned it down. She was like, I am standing in solidarity with my cast. The egregiously overlooked, which I thought was very classy. I wouldn't turn down a nomination, of course, but good for Julie Andrews. This also came inside the cup. I remember to take it out before. It's just instructions about the temperatures and everything. What else? What else? This really is like opening Al Capone's vault because I don't know what's coming out. Oh, Taboo. Speaking of Rosie O'Donnell. This is the musical Taboo, which I did see, the Boy George musical. I loved it. I flew to New York just to see it. Because I had tickets for the first week of previews, like one of the first nights, and they had technical problems and they had to postpone their previews. So the tickets that me and Rob Stevens, my friend who's a theater critic, had were we couldn't go to the show. I was devastated. So I went to see Wicked, which was also in previews, for a second time. And Rob went to see Never Gonna Dance or something like that. I didn't want to see that. No offense to that production, but anyway, Taboo. Great mug. Great logo. Sorry the show didn't run. What else is in here? Oh, now here's a 42nd Street. This is the revival of 42nd Street. Not the original from the 80s. And yes, that's a nice mug. I saw it. I don't have, any big stories about it. Those tap dancing feet. Good show, yes. What is in here? Oh, now I love this show. The 25th Annual Putnam County Spelling Bee. It had music by William Finn, who did falsettos and A New Brain. But very good show. I did standing room for that at Circle in the Square Theater. Sometimes at those standing room things, there's the little red velvet thing, and you can't even lean on those. They're like, don't lean, don't put your playbills there. And I'm like, fine, I'll just stand here and get locked leg and collapse like those grooms that are at the, getting married and they've been too stiff leg and then they just fall over, not dead, but unconscious. Fosse. Now, those shows like Fosse and Contact, I'm not overly a fan. I do appreciate the work of Bob Fosse, of course, and the hard work that dancers and choreographers and everybody goes through in a show. But just a show with dancing, and I need a little more to, if I'm at the show. That's just me. Don't write angry emails or messages in my YouTube comments. Look, here's the Lion King. My niece Stacy saw this when she went to New York. It was years after it had opened, and she just hated it. But this is from the Yes, this is from the Pantages Theater. Isn't that something? So, what? This is. Oh. Speaking of Contact, the dance show. Though I am a big fan of what's his name from Contact. God, is anybody else losing names from your brain? I have been losing names like crazy lately. You know that guy that was in the revival of She Loves Me and was on One Day at a Time? Well, anyway, he was in Contact. And that thing won Best Musical. It wasn't a musical. I don't know how playing tracks like Simply Irresistible can count as a musical. Yes, it had dance in it, but that is not a musical, and that's why shows like Contact and Fosse and all that, I'm like, I'm sorry, you're not a musical. But you're in the theatrical world. You're a special performance, maybe. I don't know. La Cage aux Folles. Wonder if this was that more recent version, like the Kelsey Grammer one. Very famous show. They made it into the birdcage. Oh, that's the end of the coffee mugs. You know, I have my own collection too. I've shown you some over the years, but these are the Gussy ones, and I knew you would want to see them before they end up in a place of honor. And don't worry, I'm going to glue Thoroughly Modern Millie, because you know that's a show that I love, and I love the poster. Look, it even hangs on my wall right over there. Boop. So, okay, and in the coming weeks, you're going to start to see the wall behind me change. No, it's not being repainted, but I'm going to start doing my top 15 musicals, my personal ones that I like as my favorite musicals. And a few of them on the wall right now will remain, probably not in the order that they're in, but we're going to start there at number 15. And the bottom row will be, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. The middle row will be the 5 before that. And then, of course, the top row will be my top 5. And we'll probably talk about them and go backwards from 15 to 1. I don't know if that'll be 15 episodes, 3 episodes. We'll wait and see. But won't that be fun? Wish we'd thought of doing that during the pandemic. Would have kept us busy. Okay. Until next time, everybody. Goodbye. I would lift Blackie up, but he's so comfortable. It's Christmas time.